Good morning. My name is Tom. I come to you from Northern Maine. I have some of my gear laid out here on the table today. This is part of my everyday carry out into the bush. I don't use much more than this. The rest I carry up here in my head or I get from the wilderness. There is absolutely everything out in the wilderness that I could possibly need. You just need to know where it is, where to find it, and how to use it. And you don't have to put it in a backpack on the back of your back. It's already out there waiting for you in the great outdoors. Take a few minutes out of your day or something like that and start learning this stuff. Stop listening to them info commercials about fancy gear and all that stuff, and you couldn't possibly live in the great outdoors if you don't carry an 80-pound pack on your back. I'm here to tell you that that's a bull-faced lie. It's a myth. The Indians lived in this country for 10,000 years. Do you think they had a backpack full of gadgets that they picked up at the sporting goods store? I'm here to tell you that they didn't. They found what they wanted out in the bush. They learned how to use it. They learned where to find it. And they were here for thousands of years before the white man came to the state of Maine. I'm still sitting here next to this pot boiling traps and going down memory lane. So I figured just in case you guys liked that last video on the Allagash, we'll find out and I'll go into depth more about the trips. I'll go back into my notes and read my logs from them fishing trips. And maybe we'll comment on them in here, make a little video about that stuff. But just in case you liked it, I want to talk about the St. John. State of Maine, back whenever they did it, put in a whole lot of time and effort to protect the Allagash. The Allagash Wilderness Waterway. Well, they made a mistake. The Allagash Wilderness Waterway is nothing compared to the St. John River. I ran them both. I ran the St. John the year after I ran the Allagash Wilderness Waterway. They kind of run the same direction and they come out in the same spot. They come out up in Allagash Village, or you can continue on down to St. John, and we continued on down to St. John, and then that's where we pulled out. But the St. John River was absolutely gorgeous. I've run the Penobscot, I've run the Allagash, I've ran the Androscoggin, I ran a bunch of, a whole list I did back then. But the St. John River was beautiful. It was remote. You were by yourself. There was no cell phone service. There was no ranger service babysitting you every 25 miles like they do on the Allagash Wilderness Waterway. It was all river. There was no lakes, and it was just plain fun. There was Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, Class 4 rapids, all the way to the other end. The biggest rapid on the other end, you can go out around it if you want to portage, so you don't have to run it if you don't want to. We ran it. It was more fun. It's 2 miles. It's 2 miles of river that you have completely got your hands full. The front end of my canoe was underwater more times than it was out of water. You come down into great big holes, then you spit right up the other hole, and just paddle as hard as you can to get that canoe to come out the other side. It was a beautiful river, beautiful campsites. The campsites, they didn't have as many campsites as the Allagash, but there was enough campsites, or you just, if we were at a spot and there were a campsite, we just made our own spot. I've done plenty of rivers like that here in the state where there are no campsites. The Androscoggin is one of them. We put in on that up in New Hampshire and then come on down down through to Rumford, when you start running into dams and stuff, there are no campsites. So you just pull up on shore and make a campsite, spend the night, have your meal, get up in the morning, have your breakfast, and away you go. And the St. John just had beautiful, beautiful campsites. It had big rivers that would run into it that was just gorgeous. As far as a river goes here in the state of Maine, I have not seen such beauty. As far as, you know, scenery, white birch groves, popple tree groves, the way the sunlight hits on everything. It was back before, and we didn't bring video cameras on those kind of trips anyways, but I've got pictures, and I'm thinking about maybe, we'll see if I run a few pictures from back then, see how you guys like it. If you don't like it, it'll show up in the video anyways, and then I won't spend a lot of time on scanning pictures, stuff like that. But anyways, I just have some great pictures from back then of the St. John River and different campsites and stuff like that. But what a beautiful river. If you want to come to the state of Maine and canoe a river, it's not the Allagash. You know, if you start Googling rivers here in the state of Maine, the Allagash is the one that's going to pop up because that's the one that gets the most attention. But it's not the river. Let me tell you. That's why I canoed all those rivers when I was younger, because I wanted to see the state of Maine at its purest form. And the St. John River is that. We put in at what's called Baker Lake, and then you canoe down, I think it was Baker Stream, until you hit the St. John River, and then from there it was 140 miles to St. John. And it was, like I said, I just can't say enough nice about it as far as exciting. You know, a lot of days you didn't have to paddle. You just had to steer, because there was just enough current to keep your canoe going at a really good pace, and it was just a you know, it was just a great experience, and the fishing too. Now the only thing you need to know about the St. John River is that you have to do it early in the season, because what happens when you get into June is it runs out of water. And once it runs out of water, it's not that the water's gone, it's just that there's not enough water to support a canoe. So you end up dragging your canoe through too much stuff. So you have to hit it about the middle of May to the 1st of June. Or maybe even into the second week of June. So basically, as soon as ice goes out, probably you could run it, and from the time the ice goes out until, I would say, the middle of June. And that might be pushing it, so keep that in mind. But there are, you know, there's things online, and that's what we did, where you can check the river depth. I forget, you just Google it, and it'll come right up where it's every day they check the river depth on the St. John, and so you'll know what it's got for water. And I would imagine, I mean, that was back in '97 that we ran that river. '98. I would imagine it's probably gotten better since then, as far as the information that they have online for that river. So, but the St. John River, if you're looking for a river to have some fun on, the St. John is it. But don't go there as a novice. Don't go take on the St. John River as a novice canoer, because it's not that kind of river either. We had one guy with us on that particular trip that had never been in a canoe before. So, but what we told him is the hard stuff on the St. John is on the other end. So we had 100 miles of river to teach him on before we got to the hard stuff. And that's what we told him going into it. What he had to do was make the first 2 miles on his own, because going from Baker Lake down to the St. John, there was a couple of spots in there with some rapids that he had to work himself through. And he did. He banged the canoe off every rock going down through there. Banged it off both shores all the way down. But it's only a couple miles. So anyways, but once we got him into the St. John where we could canoe next to him, then we was able to walk him through, teach him about rapids, teach him about rocks, teach him how to canoe and all that stuff. So by the time we got to the other end, he was canoeing like a champ. So, but I would not go there as a novice, as a you know, just as a whole group like that, because it's just not that kind of river. Go learn, like here in the state we have what's called the Moose River trip. That's a 36-mile canoe ride. That's gets you a chance to wet your whistle. It's, you know, 3 days you can run it. So it gives you a chance to wet your whistle and figure out a couple of things about canoeing on that particular river trip, and then you can move on to other ones. You can canoe the Allagash Wilderness Waterway. Yes, it's not the prettiest one, but it does get you another 100 miles of experience as a canoeist, so that when you do go take on the St. John, then you've got a little bit more experience for taking on the St. John. So I would keep all that stuff in mind. If you like videos like this one, or any of the 600 I have now for you to pick from, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. That stuff is really important. Important to let YouTube know that you like my channel, because that's the only kind of publicity that I get with YouTube, is through the like button and through you subscribing to the channel. If you're watching my videos, please take the time to figure out how to subscribe. If you're watching them on TV, or you're watching them through YouTube where you don't get any of the commercials or anything like that, I'm asking you to take the 5 minutes that it takes to log on to East Grand Woodsman, hit the subscribe button. You only got to do it once, but you know, that would make a big difference. You know, sometimes I get 1,000 views on a video or more, 1,200, 2,000, more. Hit the subscribe button. Makes a big difference in how we're going to be able to keep this going. And if you want to see more videos like this, check out my Patreon channel, and I'll put a link to it down below. If you're you know, if you want to help get behind this channel and help support it, the Patreon channel is the best place to do it, because YouTube takes too much. That's why I don't push anything that YouTube has going for you guys to make a donation, because it's not right, it's not fair, and YouTube takes the lion's share of the donation. So keep that in mind. Check out my Patreon channel, because I don't know how many there might be 100 videos there now. That's the pot. There might be 100 videos on the Patreon channel now that aren't on the YouTube channel. And not all of them are private for Patreon members. I always make sure to put some out there that are open to the public, because I want everybody to be able to participate in there. And it's not much to be a member. You can be a member for $5 a month, or you can contribute more than $5 a month. That's totally up to you. It's the same thing with YouTube. I try to share as much knowledge as I can. Sometimes on the Patreon channel, there's a lot more behind the scenes stuff. And right now we're putting out a video on Monday morning at 6 o'clock. That might change in the future. I'm not sure yet. I'm planning on making some changes to both YouTube and the Patreon channel. That's what I'm toying with anyways. But anyways, check us out, and thank you for participating in both, especially if you're already a Patreon member. But get over there and check out some of the free stuff, even if you're not a Patreon member. But anyways, you guys, I got my pot of water here. I got less than a minute. I got to take off that last batch of traps, and then I'll be waxing them up. But after that, anyways, go check out some of these rivers. Go online, check them out, get yourself a river book, and have some fun with the rivers here in the state of Maine. And like I said in the last video, if you guys are liking this stuff, I'll be able to tell, and maybe we'll make a couple of more. So have the last sip of coffee, and I will see you next week.